Welcome back, everybody. No countdown this week. I was actually over that countdown thing. I got to fix that up. So it's something else. So straight off the bat, we'll just get straight into it. So no doubt when people start to click on, we're already into the subject that probably everyone wants to talk about at the moment, and that is Spencer Leniu. And obviously what has come out of an unfortunate event in Vegas, which was a great day, afternoon, night before that incident was to happen. So we are about to get into that. First, I just quickly do a few little housekeeping things just to get out there. First of all, not going to name names or anything like that. Just got a mate of mine doing a little bit tough. He'll know who he is. The boys will know who he is. Thinking of you, mate. We'll all be around you no matter what. So getting behind you, brother, and just keep fighting that good fight. And we're all in your corner for you. So that one's there. Secondly, if you haven't already, make sure our YouTube is flying at the moment. So is our podcast. So whenever you do listen to podcasts, I think Spotify, Apple, the like, wherever else. I found out the other day we're actually on a whole heap of different podcast pages. So I didn't even know that personally, but there we are. So wherever you listen to podcasts, type in League of Inches, give us that bell icon so you get the notifications, give us a like and things like that as well. And then YouTube, obviously that like and subscribe goes a long way as well. But as always, we're going to get amongst it. Put your opinions in. We'll show up your comments and stuff. You're more involved in the show than we are. You are the ones that make the show. So we'll be previewing a huge round one game, talking about why we think a team will win, some of the interesting selections as well, and how we think it'll affect the teams. But let's get into it, boys. Spencer Leniu has made an absolute fool of himself, in my opinion. I just want to start with this one and just say, before we get into our opinions, I know that the post that was put up by myself and the page went absolutely ballistic, and it still is. Like, it's actually insane the amount of people commenting and getting involved with this topic. And I'm all for everyone having their own opinions. There is no doubt about that. I love the fact that our page has got to the point where it has now, and everyone feels comfortable enough to get involved and have their say. Just, guys, be careful with what you're saying, because I'm reading a lot of comments on there. It pops up, notifications, etc., and it's sort of not getting the message across. And the thing I feel like I want to start off with this topic and say is the fact that Ezra Mam's taken this to heart and has been basically really upset about what has happened, and he's taken it personally. I think that's big enough to know that it's crossed the mark. So whatever has been said, we can't speculate or anything like that. It's still to go to the judiciary. It's not on. It's not good enough. We need to be better. I still feel like as a game, as a code in this department. I just think, yeah, Spencer has looked like a bit of a clown. There's been some more vision come out from Fox tonight that I got to view before we came on air, and you can definitely see the incident when it does happen. And a few of the Broncos players will sort of stop straight away and said, "Oh, that's too far." So whatever has been said, I feel like has gone too far. Now, whether you say it amongst your peers or whatever, that's your own personal opinion. That's what, if you guys as mates want to do that sort of stuff, say that stuff in your group of friends, all good. You guys say that. But this is a community thing. This is not on. And I just personally think we're just got to be careful with what we are saying on this matter. But Adam, shoot over to you first. The Spencer situation, it's ugly. It's not a great look for the game, and even worse because it was over in the US, and we all know the Americans have had problems in their own with the race side of things. So not ideal.
Yeah, look, obviously what happened on the field is one thing. Obviously no need for it. Like, we don't really need to touch too much on what's actually happened. It's the way he's handled himself off the field that's made it probably a bit more disappointing. Obviously, this is why I'm kind of against post-match interviews as well. You've got a player that's just played a game that they've lost. Obviously, the hype around the game. They've gone and shoved a camera in his face. I think Spencer's probably not the smartest human being in the world. I'd hate to think what Spencer would be doing if it wasn't for him playing football. But they've put a camera in his face. He's gone up and made the stupidest comment possible and said it's all fun and games, which has just angered people even more. Then his brother has come out on Instagram and followed up those comments with monkey emojis and crying faces and stuff like that. So he's done his brother no favor there, as if his brother done Spencer no favor. The problem I have with this is it needs to be dealt with quickly before it goes on. My concern if it does go on, it's going to continue. Like we've seen the likes of, and fair play to them. Obviously, you know, they're passionate for their community and like, you know, their Indigenous beliefs and stuff like that. But you've got Latrell, you've got Cody Walker, you've got Nico Hines. They've all got involved. And I get they're throwing their support behind Spencer. But the uproar, if he's not dealt with now, is going to be bigger. And we don't want to see it affect the game in that regard. Like the AFL didn't deal with the Adam Goods one quick enough, what happened in that game. And that become ridiculous. I know we're looking at a different angle here because, you know, I guess Adam Goods was the one copying the racial abuse from the crowd, being an Indigenous player, but we don't want to go down that track. I feel like Spencer, when he does return the field, he's going to cop an absolute bollocking from the crowd. Like he is going to cop it big time, no matter what, when he gets back. He's made himself one of the most hated players. And that's not, like I said, not just because of what he did. It's the way he's handled himself after. Instead of coming out and said, you know, just owning it, so I apologize. I screwed up, you know, I made a mistake. Like there was banter going on because obviously there was banter going on to some regard. He just didn't come out and say it. But I took it too far. I'm sorry for that. It would have been a lot, probably less punishment and people would have accepted that a lot more. But like I said, the flog carry-ons just made it even worse. And there's no doubt the bloke played for Penrith last year because he's gone to the Roosters. Penrith have disowned him quickly. But it's this smug behaviour we've seen that he needs to get out of his system because he looks like a knob.
I agree with what you're saying about it's not getting handled now until Tuesday, which I think is way too long for this situation. It's just going to keep going. And it's just a headache I don't think we need in the game. It's ugly, and it seems like it's growing day by day as the players get more and more behind and in their Instagram handles, etc. as well. So, yeah, there we go. Mika, have your say on the matter.
Yeah, the slur in the beginning, like to start with, is absolutely ridiculous given this day and age. But the way he carried on afterwards, I thought made it 3 times worse. Instead of going and apologising straight up, to say what he did and how he said it. And I've seen a lot of comments online and stuff, and it should stay on the field, and it's not that bad and whatever. Like a lot of, and you got to remember, this is Ezra Mam's place of work, right? A lot of harassment cases and bullying cases at work end with someone going, well, I didn't know they were offended. Like, because 99% of them, I didn't know they were offended. You don't get to decide what offends someone else, right? The problem here is most people see the world as they know it, not how the world actually is anymore. And that's what needs to change. You know, Spencer, I got no doubt he knew. I've got no doubt he said it. I don't need to hear the audio. I don't think 4 or 5 people say what he allegedly said all at once and then take it further. I don't think he didn't say it. I think he did. If he turns out he didn't, then I'll apologise and say fair enough. But I've got no doubt he knew what he said at the time. He probably didn't think that it was going to be so offensive to Ezra Mam, which again, I don't really comprehend that either. But yeah, I think you're what you said earlier. We need to be better. We don't get to decide what offends other people, and that stuff should have been out of our game and most of our lives a long time ago. So,
yeah, no, I agree. I think about it, and Trent Robinson must be ripping his hair out because in the off season he had a chat about having a massive conversation with Jared Reed-Hargreaves and Victor Radley about keeping their heads a bit more and being on the field and in the game more because the Roosters obviously need those two to be fit and firing. We're seeing Radley. I thought that was one of his best games we've seen him play in years on the week, and I thought he was really, really good. So that obviously chat, especially early on now, looks like it has helped Victor become a better player. Now he's got to deal with Spencer, another hothead that we know of, and straight away in the first game has come out and done this. So I don't think the coach will want this to happen. It's not ideal for him because he's calmed down 2 of his big hotheads, and now he's got a third. It's not a great mix.
I don't think Robinson. I don't think Robinson spoke well about it either. Like what he said in the post-match also wasn't good enough, and which was quite surprising given how he spoke about the Latrell incident last year. So, yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth, literally. But I just want to highlight too. We
wasn't while I was kissing you.
No, that'd be weird. But highlight we should be talking about the success of Vegas and how big a spectacle it was. Instead, as we predicted, and it wasn't the fuck up we thought was going to happen. Like we knew there'd be some kind of drama over there, but this is what we're talking about. Like, obviously there's been touched on that success of it, how good it was and exciting it was, but this has been the biggest thing to come out of those two games. They were two really good games of footy as well. They were entertaining. They highlight the game. The referees probably aren't getting the accolades they deserve, which is rare to say, but they let the game flow. They gave us an entertaining style, and instead we're just talking about this stupidity from one player.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It is a shame because, especially that first game, if I had no idea what round it was, I would have thought that was almost a finals football type game. I thought it was an absolutely tremendous game of football. I think there was patches of the Roosters Broncos that were the same, but there was also patches in that game. It was sort of felt like it was dragging a little bit. I think that was just because the first game was pure quality, and I really enjoyed that game, even though it was Manly and obviously a Parramatta fan. It's hard to say that, but it was quality. It was really, really good to watch. But on the Roosters, we will obviously talk about them a lot more next week when the next game is up. But I was really impressed with the way they played and how they sort of just wrestled the Broncos out of that game. And I said last week in the preview that I thought the shortened field would impact the Broncos the most, and I think it ended up being that way. Their sweeping moves just did not work at all. Like all of a sudden, Walsh was almost on the sideline whenever he tried to do one of those moves, so it just didn't help them at all. And their backline basically went extinct because of it, and the Roosters just played a style of football I think we've all been waiting for the Roosters to play for probably the last year or two. But that's the preview stuff that we've already done. So let's get into a huge round one, guys. I can't wait for this. Thursday footy tomorrow. The Newcastle Knights taking on the Canberra Raiders. So $1.40 for the Knights, $2.94 for the Raiders. The Knights pretty much as per expected. Dylan Lucas got that second row spot ahead of Kai Pearce-Paul. He's on the bench. The halves, we've all had our say. Unfortunately, I forgot to do the shout out as well. Jez isn't with us tonight. I think it's his first episode he has missed since being on the show. So that is a huge out, but I hope he's got to look after a sick little one. So no doubt he's already sent his regards. He'll be back next week, bigger and better. I think he's also just a bit nervous about this game. And I don't know if he wants to show his face.
Let's hope like him, the Knights go missing tomorrow night. Obviously for Simon, the Raiders drummer's sake is what I meant. He's just joined us in the comments. He's probably traveling up. You're traveling up, Simon. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know, mate. Let us know your plans if you are going tomorrow and where you're at. I've heard Adam has a spare room at his place if you need somewhere to stay as well. So, hang on, we've got Big Tip Sports. Everyone's coming in the comments. Get into it. I love it. Boys, what about this one? And for the Raiders, Ethan Strange won the 5'8" spot ahead of Weeks, which fantastic, I think, to see, especially from a Supercoach point of view. But that's another podcast. We try not to talk about that too much, but I was absolutely loving the fact that I've seen that. Danny Levi is an interesting choice to start at hooker. I was not expecting to read that name at number 9. Apart from that, pretty much expected Morgan Smithies over from the Super League gets the start. Obviously, Corey Horsburgh is suspended at the moment, so that's why he's probably starting. Where are we at with this one, boys? How do we see this game going? Adam, I know you love talking about the Newcastle Knights, so I'm going to throw to you first.
I don't, because you know my thoughts on Canberra this year, and I'm sorry, Simon, I'm going to go out and say it, but was planning on going this game tomorrow night. I'm 50-50 at the moment. I've been given a free ticket, so anyway, I'll go watch the Knights play. But I think Newcastle will do it easy. So it's kind of what's holding me back from going, because I don't want to listen to their fans carry on how they're going to win the comp after they beat a Canberra team that, once again, no offense to Simon, but I feel will be very close to the bottom of the ladder. That's all I'll say. Look, Strange, given his trial form, what he did in the trial, was obviously great to see him get that half spot. But I feel like Canberra, as stated, they've just lost too much. They're in that rebuilding kind of year, losing both Croker and Jack Whiten. So I think Newcastle will be way too strong for them. I think they're expecting 25,000 tomorrow night. On a Thursday night, that's a massive crowd. Yeah, so like I said, I've obviously touched on, they've got a lot of members. I'm expecting a 25,000 crowd. So I think the momentum and the excitement around that will obviously get Newcastle home quite comfortably.
Mika, what do you got?
Yeah, I tip Newcastle. I think that Whiten loss for Canberra is going to be pretty big for him this year. I think he pulled him out of a lot of games last year that were pretty close. So yeah, I straight up went Newcastle for this one, which was pretty odd for me too. I share the same hate for them my brother does. Well, hate's a strong word. Let's say dislike.
Can I just highlight quickly? Even though we're both tipping Newcastle, we'd fucking love to see Canberra win tomorrow night. Like I
don't know. I'm on the fence because I still don't like Ricky.
Yeah, well,
that's
fair.
This is a tough one. I hope it's a draw. Hope they both lose.
I'm tipping Newcastle, but I actually think this will be a lot closer than a lot of people think. I think the Raiders will be right up for this one. Obviously, the last time they both played was that finals game, and they were right into that as well. And some say should have won that game, that they were the better side on the day for a lot of that game. But I think they'll be there and they'll be in that fight, and they'll just be annoying for Newcastle. I just don't think they'll go away at all. So if I was to say maybe a best bet thing, I'd be saying Newcastle 1-12. I think it would be a lot closer than a lot of people think. Next game up, the New Zealand Warriors against the Cronulla Sharks, $1.51 to $2.56. So Warriors quite short in this one, considering both teams are fancied to be a top 8 team this year. Where are we at for this one, boys? I'll quickly go through the lineups. This Tuapiki gets the fullback spot. Obviously, Chance is out for a few weeks. Just keep an eye on Roger. He's there at centre, but the way he's been playing early on would not shock me if he gets to spend some time at fullback. Apart from that, Metcalf gets the 5'8" spot, which was expected. I don't think there's any shocks or surprises there. The rest of their pack is expected as well by the Warriors. A shock a little bit, Jazz Tavanga, who's been a mainstay in this team for years and years. He was sort of like the backbone for that team for a few years, I felt like. He's not even in the team. He's in the reserves. So they've got a few other players ahead of him in the pecking order now. For the Sharkies, pretty much what you'd think, 1-17. Hamlin Ueli is out. Oregon Kaufusi does start. He was in a bit of no man's land last year, Kaufusi. So to get the starting spot, he must have been doing something right in the offseason because Toby Rudolph's on the bench. So make of that what you will. And McInnes gets the lock spot ahead of Dale Finucane, who is starting on the bench as well. Mika, I'll start with you for this one. Who you liking and why?
Warriors, straight up. I reckon they will win the majority, if not all of their games at home this year. I just think they'll actually go back-to-back with solid years, which I know they don't usually do. They usually have a good, bad. But I just think Johnson's finally found that sweet spot. And I think having Sheck in the centres, two Archer Shecks, that could be scary if he gets good ball from Johnson. So, yeah, I've got them because I still question the Sharks' ability due to their draw over the last few years, which goes to show in how they have tumbled out of the 8 in the finals.
I agree with you. I've been high up on the Warriors all off season, and after seeing this 1-17 team, I'm even higher up on the Warriors. They're a scary, scary looking side, and the fact this is at home, we're seeing the crowd for their trial. So I don't even want to imagine what this crowd's going to be like. It is going to be packed to the rafters. I can't wait to watch this game. I think they'll put on a show. I actually think this could be the big win of the round, and the Sharks to basically just be sort of playing in mud. Basically, I think they'll just be looking like they've just been looking in the car at the headlights. So I think the Warriors could do this quite easily in this game. So I know Hines is back, but if you still got that niggle and he's not 100%, that's a concern as well. Going over there, a heavier sort of ground, it could be a weather saturated game. We always know what it's like over there, so that could hamper him as well. But yeah, I got the Warriors winning this quite comfortably. Adam.
Yeah, look, just looking through Cronulla's forward pack, I think it's probably one of the weakest starting forward packs in the competition, which is obviously not what you want when you're going across to start a round one game in New Zealand. Their backline, I know you're not a big fan of Talakai in the centres, but looking at their backline, it's pretty quality. I don't like them. I don't like a lot of their backline. There's a lot of flogs in their backline. but you still got to respect the fact that it is a quality back line. I guess Hines and Trindle playing and doing the camp for the All-Stars game as well would kind of help them a bit in regards to that. But I've still got the Warriors winning, but the concern I have with the Warriors is they're not a team that's handled pressure well and expectation over the years. Every year they're meant to do something, they seem to fall in a heap. No one expected them to do anything last year, may I add. And they went on that amazing run. So I think it puts a lot of pressure on a returning Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and it puts a lot of pressure on Sean Johnson. Obviously had a wonderful year last year, was relaxed, looked like he was enjoying football again after those years at Cronulla. But now he's got the expectation to back that up again. And can he do it again at his age after producing, I say, mediocrity for quite a while? Is that the word, mediocrity? Yeah, it's the word I'm after, isn't it? My words aren't always the best. So
I'll let you keep digging this hole for yourself.
Yeah.
Dig up.
I've still
dig
got
up.
the Warriors. I've still tipped the Warriors. I think it'll be 1-12, though. I don't think they're going to run away with it. And I think Cronulla will give them a bit of a scare for, I'd say, more than half the game.
Where are we at with Roger? First of all, I'll address what you said, Adam, because
He's probably somewhere in
I
Auckland,
know-
to be honest. Oh, where are we at? Not where's he at? Oh, okay. Got ya.
no, you're throwing me there, but anyway,
I got you.
I understand what you're saying with Sean Johnson. I do get it to a certain degree, but what I just think is the fact that Warriors team has actually gotten stronger than last year. Like, I think their squad as a whole now just has no chinks in it almost whatsoever, and they've got depth. They've got incredible depth, and I can't see any faults. I know it's late for Sean Johnson in his career. That might be the only concern, but then they've got like Tamari Martin in the reserves as well, sitting there waiting for a game. So they've got depth there, even in the halves.
I think Johnson has finally found, like, he game managed a lot last year. I know he's always done that to a degree, but he was always the flashy player as well. I feel like he's found a really good spot to be with how his game management is now, and that's what the Warriors have always needed from him when he's been there.
Do they look
That's
for
what I
RTS
noticed.
too much? Is that going to be an issue for him? If he plays in the centres, we've seen pretty good players who we can't mention come back to a team and play in the centres after being a predominantly fullback for all his career and demand a lot of ball. Now, Roger's going to play on the opposite side to Watenu Lesniak. Now, Lesniak last year he was the best winger in the game by far. If they start looking for RTS too much, does that take Lesniak out of the game?
I don't think Roger's that player. I think he will be
Nah.
team first no matter what. I don't think he has that in his. I've never seen Roger become a selfish player throughout his career, whether it's at league or union. So I just can't see him. What I will say
I'm
on
not
Roger,
saying- I'm
I
not
can
saying he's
anticipate
selfish
him
to say.
becoming.
I'm not saying him. Sorry, I'll reword that because we're going down a thing with AG. Selfish. I'm saying the player he is, do they automatically look for him and expect him to do something, that kind of demand?
Maybe.
No, I don't think so. I think he's just the icing on top of the cake.
Yeah.
They've already got all those
'Cause
pieces there. He's just that little bit more now.
Because I actually really like Rocco Berry as a player. So I think he's such an underrated center in this competition. So the fact that they've got both those quality players either side, I actually think Roger will spend quite a bit of time at fullback. That's my prediction for this game because of just how good he has come back. So there we go. Let's get over to the next game. And I think there was a couple of comments here saying this could be the game of the round. And you might have a very solid argument for that. And keep the comments coming, guys. I really, really appreciate everyone getting involved. Dad, buddy. Big Tip Sports, mate. This is, I think, your first time in the show, but we are loving your energy. So keep it going and keep all your thoughts and opinions. Let us know your tips as we go as well. So the Storm outsiders for this one, $2.31 and Penrith $1.61 down at Amy Park in Melbourne. The big question mark here is obviously Cameron Munster. We're not too sure yet if he will play. I heard Bellamy interviewed, I think it was on NRL 360 last night, and to be honest, his answer wasn't giving me much confidence that Munster would be playing in this one. It's sort of like a hope more than anything at the moment. So that's a huge blow if they lose him, but Pezzett would obviously come into the side. Apart from that, it's pretty much what we thought. Joe Chan has come from nowhere to make a spot on the edge there for the for the Storm. Liero's confirmed move into the middle at lock. And the big season signing, off-season signing, Sean Bloor doesn't even make the side. He's 18th man. So maybe a late little switch up there. Not too sure. Craig Belly might be playing mind games already. But this Penrith team, which is pretty much 1-17, what we thought it would be, still looks very scary on paper. So I think I'm up first. I've got Penrith in this one, especially now with the Munster news. Even if he does play, it doesn't seem like he'll be 100%, which is a worry for mine. So I just think Penrith will be too classy. The travel is a little bit of a worry for myself, but I think because of I guess they got embarrassed in a way, Penrith, for that World Club Challenge. So that's 2 years in a row they haven't been able to get it when they were pretty heavily favoured and backed. I think they want to come out and make a statement here and show that they've still got it. Adam?
I'm actually tipping Melbourne, given the fact if Munster does play. You can never count off Melbourne in Melbourne. We know what a hard place it is to travel. And obviously the coach that Craig Bellamy is as well, the way he'll get his team up for it. And they'd be loving going in as the underdogs and flying under the radar here, big time. So they're not expected to win. And have they still got that record intact? That didn't get broken last year. How many round one wins have they had, Melbourne?
21 or something. I think 21.
He hasn't lost one, Bellamy.
It shows you the preseason that obviously he has and how he gets his team up for that round one. For them to go in against the premiers, the 3 in a row premiers, it's got no better way for him. Like, he couldn't do anything else, could he? He doesn't even have to do anything. He doesn't have to say anything. His team should be fired up and ready to go. So I've got Melbourne to win it. And I'm looking at the Penrith draw as well. And Penrith have got a very hard start to the year. So this is one they really do need to win. Don't be so frozen. It wasn't that shocking, Joel. I didn't say that much.
Yeah, he must have dropped out. He's back.
What happened there? Sorry, guys.
He was just shocked I tipped against Penrith.
I was.
Yeah, so I actually originally had Melbourne tipped. I mean, they never lose round one, especially down there at home. I just looked it up. It says there's an article from the 13th of November says their 22-year streak faces an ultimate test this year. So I changed this afternoon, though, when I saw that Nelson and Munster, well, Munster's still not ruled out, but a groin injury, so he's not going to be running that freely, and that's his strongest point. So I changed to Penrith. I think they'll get it done down there in a close one. I think their forward pack will be too strong without Nelson.
I'm so glad you're staying with Melbourne now because you changed your tip and your public stated it.
That's not game day. It doesn't count.
I copped that.
Can I highlight?
Change my.
Can I highlight quickly?
Broncos.
The reason I'm still wearing my party shirt and Viva Las Vegas from our Las Vegas show last week is because, well, Jeremy as well. We have the perfect tipping record intact. So I'm wearing this shirt every podcast till I get a tip wrong. So probably next week.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. I want to talk about Nathan Cleary, boys. He's no doubt head and shoulders, I think, the best player in the competition at the moment. But is there an argument that this season he's under the most pressure he's ever been under?
No, I don't think there is. Like, pressure comes to those who need it. It's not like he needs to go out and prove anything anymore. I think it's scary to think, how old's Nathan now? Is he 25?
Something like that. He'd be only
25.
Yeah, he's not even in his peak.
Like, you look what he's done, and everything he does from this stage on just adds another element to why he is great. Like, we already know he is great. So, there's not much else he can do. So, besides go to French rugby, obviously, in the next couple of years and sign a massive $1 million deal across there to be close to his loved one. But I don't think he feels pressure. If he felt pressure, he wouldn't have done what he done in some of those key moments last year. Look at the Parramatta game where he kicked that 40-meter clutch field goal, the grand final where he come back, things like that. But there's some of his highlights, and he did that by himself too. I just want to highlight that grand final was by himself. There's no way.
I think his pressure comes Origin time because I still don't think he's really stood up in the Origin arena.
Yeah, no,
so that's what
I don't think so either. I just thought I'd pop the question out there, and I actually think he's going to stand up and have a huge game on Friday night against the Melbourne Storm and really make a statement that, again, I think 2024, he claims his first Dally M medal, which is crazy to think that he hasn't won one yet. So there we go for Nathan Cleary and the Penrith Panthers. This Saturday game, 4:30. Oh, no, hang on. That's Queensland time. It's 5:30.
Add an hour. Simple maths.
Yeah. There we go. I don't even know why I didn't even say. I haven't said the time yet for any of them, but there you go. It just got me again. $1.43 the Eels, $2.83 for the Bulldogs. Look, for the Eels, obviously we see the great Morgan Harper named in centre while the suspended Micah Sevo is suspended. So Bailey Simonson goes to the wing. Apart from that, Brad Arthur, shock and horror, lied to everyone. I don't know why a coach would give away their game plan to the general public. Anyway, he has gone the 2-hooker rotation, which is a very, very smart move by him. For the Bulldogs, a team that this lineup could have gone a million different ways, and I don't think anyone predicted to go the way it has gone, but here we are. Blake Taft kept the fullback spot. Crichton's in the centres. I think that is an absolute waste of Stephen Crichton, but we'll get to that. Drew Hutchinson ended up winning that 7 jersey. Obviously, they don't worry about trial form because that second trial he played was absolute dog shit. But anyway, Farmer Silly gets the starting prop. They're very light on in the prop forward guys. Their middle is, I feel like, about to get shot to pieces. Jamin Semin is the starting lock. Like, wherever that has come from, no idea. Josh Curran was signed and pretty much looked like he was guaranteed to have a sort of a 80-minute middle forward role with what they had, but that didn't happen. But here we are. Adam, you're back to you, I believe, and tell us you're tipping the Dogs.
I'll let him go first because I just spoke about this one for the last half an hour. So, Michael, off you go.
Okay.
Dogs by 12. Nah, I'm kidding. My problem with the Dogs, and I've been saying this for a while now, they keep buying all these backline players, but when you look at all their stats and stuff and all their games, they have no meter eater forwards. They never, like, all their tries are really good long range tries. They never seem to get up the field good enough. And the halves as well. Like, I still think you need 2 top line halves, whereas I don't think Burton is a half. He should be in the centres. If Parramatta play like they have the last few times they've played them straight up the middle, I think they'll get an easy win at CommBank. Yeah, even with Morgan Harper. I don't like bagging our own players, but I still don't get that signing anyway.
Come
game day, I'll love him. Yep, come game day, I'll be all on him. I'll love him.
First try scorer on Morgan Harper. There you go. Michael said it first. First of all, before we get into this one, I just want to congratulate Kurt Mann. Massive achievement there at the Bulldogs and taking out that 14 jersey. It was obviously highly, we didn't know who was going to get it. So congrats to Kurt Mann on getting the 14. Now we've got to give him a team safe one where you don't actually clap. It's like a team's friendly one. Yeah. So, that's huge news for him. I don't know how they're going to use him. If they bring him onto lock and they've got Semin at lock, it just is an even smaller player through the middle. If they bring him onto hooker, Reed's predominantly an 80-minute player. I don't know what they're going to do with him. It could come to 5'8". I have no idea what they're doing. As you touched on, obviously the Crichton one. I think the fact that Taft's gone to fullback could be an indication of their halves. I don't think their halves that strong, and they probably do know that. Hutchinson spent some time, obviously, in the centres there at the Roosters, spent some time off the bench, spent some time reserve grades. Never really held down a starting half position at any team, has he? So the fact that he's there with Burton, who we know is probably a better centre than a half, and they've moved him, obviously, to 5'8", it kind of highlights that they're going to put a lot of pressure on Hutchinson there to run the show. And I expect Burton and Taft to play as kind of running fullback / 5'8s. That'll be the approach I'll have to go with. So that's probably the indication why they've done that. I'll give the positive, and the positive is it does create a pretty lethal combination with Crichton and Addo-Carr on that same edge if they do go with that. And that's dangerous for Parramatta. We've seen some of Parramatta's wide defence and how it has struggled over the years. So it makes me a little bit nervous. But as Michael touched on earlier, the Bulldogs forward pack is very weak. I mean that in most respects. Like, they've got some big bodies there. Like Max King, for example, a big body can make some meters. But when you looked at most NRL clubs have that superstar front row or a superstar, lock forward. They don't seem to have that. Their second row is probably one of the strongest, can on its day, with Kikau and obviously Preston there. But like I said, I don't see him making the meters. I don't see him getting into those good ball opportunities. The only way the Dogs are a big chance of winning this game is through Parramatta's errors. And like I said, I don't think they can make enough errors for that to happen. As for Parramatta, look, obviously we've touched on, I spoke about this, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but Harper coming in the team is probably the only option to happen. Bailey the winger makes me nervous compared to Bailey the centre, who is a much better player. Bailey the winger seems to go missing and seems to get lost, and must be something about that number 2 jersey at Parramatta. They must just seem to lose their football IQ when they put it on, because it doesn't matter who wears, they seem to have no idea. But I think Parramatta do this one easily, just based on that. The halves are obviously a lot stronger. The forwards are a lot stronger. The battle of the back line you could probably give to the Dogs in that regard. But if Will Penasini stands up, then I don't think we're going to see much from Crichton as well.
I think it's a huge game for our halves, Moses and Dill Brown, to really step up in this game and show why they're on the big dollars. They obviously clearly outclass the Bulldogs halves pairing, in my opinion. And if they don't get up for this one and put on a show, I'm very, very worried about the Eels' prospects for 2024. But yeah, I obviously think the Eels should get home well. I was going to say the Bulldogs, their best chance would be to attack Mike Acevo, but the fact he's not there, Para win 13+. So thank you, judiciary. The Gold Coast Titans against the St. George Illawarra Dragons. $1.49 for the Titans up here on the Gold Coast at home, and the Dragons $2.65. Keanu Keeney gets the fullback spot, obviously with Jaden Campbell injured. He's a freak, guy. So make sure you watch this game, because he's worth the price of watching this alone. So he's a very, very good quality player. AJ obviously gets that center spot that was hotly spoken about. It was confirmed. Tana Boyd gets the halfback spot. The rest of it, pretty much without Dylan. Sorry, I was about to say without Dylan Brown. I don't know why I was saying that. Without David Fafita, they've swapped a few things around. Cleese Haas comes on to that bench, the second row spot. Keenan Palacia is at lock as well. Obviously came over from the Broncos last year. So there are a few little changes there. Chris Randall gets the hooking spot ahead of Sam Verrills, which I was actually really surprised about. I thought Sam Verrills, it was his year to really dominate and show his sort of signs as a hooker, but not the case for the Dragons. Pretty much what we thought would happen. Pretty dog shit, if I'm being honest. Nothing really too exciting there. Again, Terrell Sloan's at fullback. Zach Lomax is getting wasted on the wing and for another game. I don't know what Flanagan has to watch, but he just did nothing in the trials to suggest to me he's a winger. So pretty disappointed that hasn't been changed. Apart from that, it is what it is. Who are we tipping for this one? Adam, you're starting this time.
I'm starting. Good. Well, you're not going to like me because I know you're on the Gold Coast. So you got a bit of a soft spot for them this year, but I've actually got the Dragons to win. I think Fafita and Campbell are both massive outs for the Gold Coast. And I know they only played the Tigers, but I was really impressed with that St. George trial against the Tigers. As I said after that one, we did a bit of a review on that one. I had him sitting, 15th, 16th. I actually bumped him up a bit.
Hang on. It
was a trial.
I'm going to go back here. No, I'm not saying that. You have bagged Flanagan out multiple times on this podcast over the last year or so, saying he's a poor coach. He can't do anything for the teams. The Dragons are stupid. Hang on. Credit. Now they look good.
I'm saying he's unproven. I said that in the comments the other day. You can't sit there and say he's a great coach because he took Cronulla Sharks to a premiership when half their team were on illegal substances. So he's an unproven
the other half
coach.
were over the cap.
Yeah. So there are unproven teams. Allegedly, yes. So allegedly, he's an unproven coach. If he comes out and makes the St. George team better, he's a great coach or a good coach. If he takes him to comp, he's a fucking magician. But I can't see that happening, just FYI. But I was impressed by him. So I'm going to tip him. I'm going to tell you why as well. Obviously, I said Fafita and Campbell, massive outs. I don't like Brimson in the centres defensively. And I'll give you a little bold prediction for this one. I've got Sully and Ravawala to combine for 3+ tries running at that edge. It's dangerous. Can you imagine Sulu and Ravalawa running if you're AJ Brimson, who's used to defending in the halves and at fullback? Like,
Not bad.
there's some worrying signs there. So I've got St George to win this 1-12.
Look, yeah. Mika, back that one up.
He's sinking now because I've just
Yeah.
made a very valid point and he's tipped the Gold Coast.
You have. I actually didn't know who to tip. I end up going the Gold Coast because they were at home. I didn't realise Fafita was out as well as Campbell. And you make
Can I
a very
highlight
good
you
point
one? Can I
about
highlight
Brisbane
you one
themselves.
more? One more. Not just
Sure.
that. Foran as well was obviously used to defending with Fafita last year. He did a lot of defensive work to help him out at Foran's age. Without Fafita there, Foran's defense is majorly going to suffer as well.
Yeah, and I guess if Flanagan, if I can give him credit for anything that is proven, it's he has tough footy teams. They've always played tough footy. So I think that's the one thing he will be able to get out of the Dragons if he can. So yeah, maybe I am going to change my tip to the Dragons. When's that? Tomorrow night? No, sorry, Saturday night.
No,
Was that a Sunday
Saturday
game?
night.
So, yeah, Saturday night, 6:30. Oh, 7:30.
7:35 here.
7:30.
Well, the game is up there.
Just come to the daylight savings dark side with the rest of us. I don't know. I tipped originally Gold Coast, but I reckon by Saturday night I'll have changed to the Dragons.
And can we just highlight here, if he does change his tip to the Dragons and they lose, it's going to be my fault. Like,
It
it's not going to be
absolutely
his
will
fault
be
for
your
changing
fault.
his tip. It's going to be my fault putting ideas
Nope.
in his head.
He's done it so many times to me over the years too, but I never learn.
I will obviously. I do have a bit of a soft spot for the Titans this year. I like what they're doing with their squad. I feel like their squad is probably the strongest it's ever been. So I do like them. As I said, I have big raps on Keeney. So I know Jaden Campbell's a huge out, but I do rate Keeney very, very highly. So I don't think they miss much at all there. I think it'll be a close one. I do like what Flanagan's done with the Dragons. So I think they'll be in the fight here. But I just think at home, the Titans will get it done in a close one.
What do you mean at home? There's going to be more Dragons fans there than Gold Coast fans there. Everyone knows that about going to a game at the Gold Coast. There's no home ground advantage.
Hey, they're building. I'm telling you, they're starting to build something here. There's a bit more talk about it.
You've been hanging around with BKR too long. You got a soft spot for him, and
I did have an interview with BKR. Shout out to Blaze.
I know.
Watch that if you haven't. It was a great interview with all things Titans and his story. But
the only recognisable Gold Coast fan, probably the only fan.
I've never really considered them that team that's going to win the comp.
I'm not
they've
saying
had
that,
some
but
really
it's the
good years.
Dragons. 2 weeks ago, we all said the Dragons won't win a game this year. So hang on.
No. I just mean when you're talking about their building and stuff, and I've just never had that feeling about the Titans. They're always, to me, that midfield, and some years they make the 8. But in saying that, my God,
little brother.
Yeah, but some years they bloody trounce Parramatta 2 games out of 2, and it shits me to tears.
They are a weak
in those
team for Parramatta. We always seem to struggle to put them
those
away.
High score
quickly
shootouts.
Look, he's not here with us tonight, and it's obviously Jeremy. He'll be back next week, old Jez. But I want a special shout out because he always brings up this player whenever we talk about the Dragons. He's loving this storyline. So Scott's actually helped us out. So highlight his comments about Ben Hunt. Shout out to you, Jez. I hope you are watching. You let us know in the comments, mate, if you're there watching. But there's the Ben Hunt situation. Does it go away? To be honest, this preseason actually looks like he's brought back into the club. I actually feel like Flanagan somehow turned him around and he's all in.
He looks happy. It looks relaxed. Looks like he's enjoying footy again. But I guess the worrying sign is who thought it was a good idea to let the Dragons play in Queensland in round 1? Because Ben Hunt could go missing. He could just never get on the bus, never get on the plane, and just stay in Queensland. Like, this could have been his plan all along. I'll act happy. I'll act like I'm really interested in being at the club. Then I'll backdoor it out of Seabus Super Stadium, never to be seen until I appear in a Broncos or Gold Coast jersey.
I think it's a credit to his professionalism, how he's he's carried that Dragons team on his back for years, and the fact that we all know he doesn't want to be there, but he turns up every week, and he's turned up for a proper preseason, and I feel like he's going to give it a solid red hot crack. But my question will be is if they start losing poorly, that's when the knives will come out, and that's when it'll start to rear its head again, I reckon.
I think Nozza has an interesting point here. I actually don't think this will happen because I think Flanagan will want to do everything he can to stay on his good side to keep doing basically whatever Hunt wants, and that will keep the relationship pleasant in a way. I think there'll always be some awkwardness there.
Can we talk about that quickly? Because I was sitting there watching the footy on the weekend and watching Daly Cherry Evans. And I was thinking to myself, if I'm Manly and Anthony Seibold, I'm doing everything I can to stop Cherry Evans from playing Origin this year. Because they were impressive. They played really well. And I'd want him focusing at his age on Manly. So if that does happen, there's a fair chance that Hunt plays 7 for Queensland instead of playing that 9-14 role. Because there isn't, you think about it, they've got a lot of good players coming through, but they haven't really got another really, they've got Dearden there as well, but with experience, you don't want to chuck Dearden in, especially with Munster potentially carrying injuries throughout the year. So I think he does play rep footy this year, Hunt. I think he could wear the 7 jersey.
I've actually got the Origin period with DCE missing as the reason that Manly finished 9th instead of the 8th.
So if he plays, you've got him in the 8th. So look out. By the way, guys, looks like we'll be finishing up a little bit early today. So if you don't have any questions, get them in and we'll make sure we get to them before our commitments for the show finish. So you start getting your questions in now because we're up to the final game. The Dolphins versus the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the favourites here, $1.56, 46. The Dolphins are $2.74. Did I say Dolphins twice? I feel like I did. Anyway, Cowboys are $1.40.
Dolphins versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins will probably win.
Yeah, no.
Maybe the Dolphins will lose.
The Dolphins, shit. Is it the Redcliffe Dolphins versus the where are they from Dolphins? Because we don't know where they're from Dolphins, do we? Still, year 2, we don't know where they're from.
Anyway, let's get back onto this one. The Dolphins are $2.74. The Cowboys are $1.46. Juicy, because we all have admitted we just have no idea about the Cowboys this year. We literally we've all predicted them to go poorly this year, but that would not surprise us if they end up being a top 6 team or something. They've got still a decent side on paper. The Dolphins have the shocks when it comes to the side this week. There's no Averillo. So Tessie News kept that center position. So I don't know what the hell's happened there in the offseason, but something has happened because I thought Wayne Bennett would be huge for Averillo and he'd be having a real breakout year this year. So a bit disappointing there. Cody Nikorima has the 5'8" spot ahead of young gun Isaiah Katoa. So that's a surprise in itself as well. Apart from that, Ray Stone gets the lock position, obviously with the unfortunate news that Gilbert has done his ACL. Apart from that, pretty much who we thought would make the so Jared Wallace could only make the 18th man. I thought he was really good in the trial. So that's a little bit of shock. He couldn't make the bench for the Dolphins. For the Cowboys, Kyle Felt gets the wing spot ahead of Semi Valame. That was a little bit of a surprise, but I think they want to get Kyle Felt's try-scoring record there. I believe they'll probably let him achieve that, and then Valame will be right down his throat, basically just ready to take that spot. So there's that one, and that's about it. For the Cowboys, it's all pretty much copy and paste what we thought would happen. Hila Maluki gets that edge spot as well. So I think I'm first here. So I've tipped the Cowboys, but I'm not confident at all because there's part of me that I do like what the Dolphins are doing. I just think that Gilbert injury really, really hurts him because he's sort of that heart and soul for that footy club. So not having him in the team really hurts the Dolphins. So for that reason, I think the Cowboys will be looking to have a bounce back, especially to start the year after a poor finish last year to their season. So the Cowboys in a close one for mine, Adam.
Yeah, look, as your dad said, it's probably the hardest game to tip of the rounds, but it's probably the least interesting game of the round as well, in my opinion. It's the least one to get motivated for on a Sunday arvo. But I've got the Cowboys struggling this year as well. But when you look at their team on paper, it's still a very strong team. Strong forward pack, pretty decent halves, and they've still got some strike weapons in that back line, obviously with Holmes, Drinkwater, and Tulagi there as well. So it's a hard one to predict. I guess the Dolphins last year, a lot of their wins came on the momentum of being a new team and people getting behind them. And, they won games we didn't think they would at the start of the year. I don't know what they can do with that this year. Yep, the fins up was on. Now you look at their back line, there's some good players, and their forward pack is also quite strong, but their halves, very unproven and very, we'll say, not top-notch quality halves. So I've tipped the Dolphins. I've only tipped the Dolphins based on the fact I predicted the Cowboys to have a bad year.
That's fair enough. Mika?
Yeah, hard to disagree with what you say there. I went the Dolphins too, A, because they're at home, B, because I think Flegler and Farnworth are sort of big ins for them. I think they'll give them things they missed last year. And I just think the Cowboys, like Adam said, I think they're in for a bit of a rough year. I just think things will get a bit stale up there. And yeah, so that's why I went the Dolphins. But you're right, it was a really hard game to tip. And you're right, it is a very disappointing game for Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, no. In a way, I'm interested in this game because it's going to be interesting to see how both teams play and how they come out. So some interesting storylines I think could come out of the game.
I should clarify. I don't mean any disrespect by that. I just mean for round one, we're big excited for footy. Like Sunday afternoon, put the Tigers on at Leichhardt or something. For me, two Queensland
against the bye,
teams,
that'll be entertaining.
Yeah, well, obviously not against
a close game. Very close.
Obviously not against the bye, but I just for me, two Queensland teams that I don't think will have amazing seasons. I'm just personally struggling to get excited for it.
I don't think this game needed to be at Suncorp either. I get it, they're playing another Queensland. There's obviously a lot of Cowboys fans living in that, traveling area. But for me, played at Dolphin Stadium, I know it only holds 10, 11,000, whatever it is, but a sellout there as opposed to potentially 20, 22,000 at Suncorp. I think the decision that was made for that reason is the fact, obviously, the Broncos in Vegas last year, they're hoping to tap onto that local crowd.
No, I agree. That is our tips for the week. There'll be a post up tomorrow morning about all our tips as well, so you can see it in physical copy and try and copy our tips if you want. I don't know if you want to do that, but it's available.
Well,
so a few questions we did ask for it.
I haven't tipped one wrong all year, so you can follow my tips, guys.
Hopefully that party shirt's off next week because I'm over it. Nozza, wonder who becomes Queensland's 14. Obviously, that is in relation to perhaps maybe Ben Hunt not being there. Who would be the next in line, do you reckon, boys?
Reece Walsh or Kalen Ponga, whichever one doesn't get fullback.
Yeah. So Ponga.
Yeah. Oh.
He had to get that in, didn't he? He had to get it in.
Reece Walsh. Well, this is an interesting one for us. Rianne, you think Moses will be 6 for Origin? I do. I think he will be the 6 for Origin this year because I think it will take off a lot of pressure off Nathan Cleary's shoulders. Mika talks about it at the start of this episode about that's his real test of character. I think this year is owning that State of Origin series, Cleary, and I think he hasn't been helped with the fact that he hasn't really had that second dominant sort of player to sort of feed off whenever he's getting targeted in the Origin arena. He's been just basically everyone knows it's going to go Nathan Cleary, and that's that. I think with Mitchell Moses there as his 5'8", there becomes two very valid options for last play options and things like that. And it'll just confuse Queensland quite a bit. I feel like it's a really positive move in the way I'd be going.
Yeah, I've been crying out for that for years. I think every time Moses has been given an opportunity to play Origin, he's done quite well. Some of the games he's played, his stats are actually better than Cleary's. Not to say that he's better than Cleary, like Cleary is the best half in the game, but I just think together they would be a fantastic combination. They both can run when they need to. They both can kick when they need to. So if one got injured, the other could take control. I just think for me that is the best balanced halves combination New South Wales could have, and still got a couple of years out of that combination as well.
I'll give you a simple answer. No, don't pick him. He's not a big game player. Please don't pick him. Don't want him playing Origin. I guess he will be there. You think he'd be the 6 because Luai just hasn't really produced much in the last couple of years anyway. But as Michael says, stats are good. The
Oh,
concern
don't
I have,
start that.
the concern, I'm not going to say anything about Penrith, the game there in a couple of weeks I'd like to go to. The concern I have for Mitchell Moses playing Origin is we've seen throughout Mitchell's career, he's a confidence player. And I feel like the most confident he's been since he's fixed his defense, but he can also be a scapegoat. There's a lot of Tigers fans that hate him. And we talk about it, obviously, the Parramatta media like to bag the crap out of Parramatta. If Cleary and Moses go into an Origin, given what Cleary's done at club level, and they don't win that Origin series, and they play all 3 games together, Moses will be the scapegoat of that. They're not going to do it like Cleary.
Yes.
fair point.
Steve, I see your comment here. Luai
I
won
know,
3
Steve.
grand finals in a row while Moses choked.
I'm just going to say,
no worries.
any reserve grade number 6 in the world could have played in those 3 grand finals and would also have 3 grand final rings.
Well, the most recent, it was a reserve grade player in Cogger who they actually looked better
Yes.
once he came on. So
Exactly.
so make of that what you
Nice
will.
to
But
see you watching.
it-
Aren't you on an airplane, Steve? I thought you were going on holidays tonight or something. Thanks for watching.
thanks, Steve. I really appreciate it. Dad's getting a little boot in here on Canterbury. He loves this story at the moment. The Canterbury Panthers to click after being the busiest in the signings department. How long will it take? I think it'll take them a hell of a long time because I don't think they've started by naming their best team to start with. Crichton should be the fullback. Their attack is non-existent so far in the trials, and that was their biggest concern. And it still hasn't been fixed. Burton's not a 5'8". He's not a halfback. He should be in the centers. They have so many issues at the moment. They've got no forward pack. Their forwards aren't going to do the hard yards.
He's frozen again.
And
That's back.
yeah, I'm just. There's a lot of work for the Bulldogs. If I'm a Bulldogs fan, there's definitely reasons to be optimistic moving forward, but I don't think this year's going to be anything special.
Yep, fair call. I agree. There was
Thanks,
another
boys.
one.
Thank you.
There was another question. What was the other question? Someone asked about putting Oz's up about Ponga at 14 again.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Is Ponga at 14? Oh, here we go. You just want to go back in on Ponga. I don't think it's a good idea, Nozza, so...
No, just the points you raise after that. Like, if he is the 14, where do you play him? Because we saw him defend at 5'8". So, like a serious conversation. You're right. He doesn't make a very good 14 because he can't play a lot of those positions you need your 14 to play. But I feel like they would do what they did with how they ease the Queensland have always brought a player off the bench that they just play in the middle to sort of late in the game to run through the tired forwards, and that's the role that they'd give him, I reckon. Or Walsh, whichever one of them ends up on the bench.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I read his comment as well, and I wasn't saying he deserves to be the 14, but I feel like the pressure will be there to pick him at 14 if he has a good year.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Last final question of the show before we pack it up. Rhiannon, once again, thank you for watching. I feel like you've been with us pretty much the whole show, so really appreciate that one. Any teams that did bad last year that we think will do good this year? We did have our preview show where we did some of these predictions. So I think that go back last week, catch it on either podcast or YouTube. You can hear a whole range of our predictions heading into 2024. But I forget who. Adam, do you remember who you've put down for this or teams that can
I got
improve?
Parramatta winning the comp.
That's right. You had him second.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he did.
There's a few. I don't think I had too many changes when it come to my top. I can't remember my top 8 to be honest. Yeah. I've got the Roosters as well. I know they obviously end up making it through the finals, getting the finals last year, but pretty underwhelming for half the year. But if things click, which obviously they look to of round 1, I had them finishing 5th, but potentially winning the comp. So they're my other team.
If we're talking about teams that are going to improve, I think the Roosters will improve, like Adam said, consistency throughout the year. They won't sort of scrape to make the 8 this year and find form. I think they'll just be in form. I think even though South lost that last 20 minutes of the Vegas game, I think they'll climb up the ladder as well. I just think they've got too decent of a side to not make the 8 2 years in a row, same as Parramatta. And I actually think the Tigers, I know we've been saying it for years, they've got young players, and I just think like I don't think they're going to make the 8, but I don't think they're going to be the easy beats that they have been. I think that back line will start to click really well, and I think Madge is a really, really good buy for him. Sorry, not Madge. He left.
Madge is a great buy.
no.
That's all we've got time. That's all we've got time for tonight.
I mean, I'm thinking about the players that he bought over before or just after he left. Appy. I think Appy's a really good buy for him, and I think that just started to show at the end of last year. So I think they'll improve. That's my big improver for the year. I think had it on the list the other day.
Of course, they're going to improve. They can't get any worse.
Oh yeah, well, improve significantly. Well, not significantly. Better than one position.
Didn't you say that last year? They went from 16th to 17th because we bought a new team. We haven't bought a new team in this year.
Nah, I don't think I said that last year. I think I'm going for it this year.
I'm all in. Canberra's coming last, so
I reckon they're in for the slide. Yeah. Sorry to our drummer fan.
As the boys have said, I think the Roosters really climb into a top 2 team this year. So they're a big climber for myself. I think the Rabbits into the top 8 as well. I'm actually really liking Adam's prediction last week. Make sure you do watch the show, Rhiannon, and you understand what I'm trying to say about the Rabbitohs season. I think he's going to absolutely ace that prediction. And I actually feel like the Titans will be a bit of a smoky this year. I can see them improving a couple of positions and climbing up a little bit. So that's that one there. And Adam,
BKR and Joel sitting in a tree. Yes,
it's not that. I've been on the Titans all off season.
It's good to see that someone besides Hayden is mates with him now. So good on you, Joel.
My worry with the Titans, if I'm being honest, is the pairing of Des Hasler and the group of Gold Coast Titans players. I don't know if they'll click fully, but we'll find out, I guess. But guys, thank you very much for tuning in. We really do appreciate the comment section's been going gangbusters pretty much the whole episode. So really appreciate everyone getting involved. As the season is now in full swing, we expect the episodes to get bigger and better as well, with a lot more people joining, etc. So looking forward to a huge year. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, especially on the YouTube page. Mika, again, the music's going off. So just a quick one on that. It is now official on Instagram. We can have it for posts, stories, the like. You can have the League of Inches jingle. So if you do that, just make sure you tag us or in whatever it is so it pops up, and I'll share it on our Instagram page, and you can have our official jingle on a post, which is amazing. So thanks, Mika, for that once again.
We only finally just figured out how to play it on a stream the other day, so hopefully next week we'll play it as the intro. We'll play it as the intro or something.
We had it all worked out, and Jez last minute couldn't make it, which was a disappointing thing, but all good. Adam, enjoy the first week of footy. I know you'll be like myself, you'll be sitting there strapped to the TV. Can't wait for it. It all starts tomorrow night, guys. So, Mika wants to hang on. Come on, Mick.
Yes, Steve. Back at the beginning. Good night. Oh, hi, Mum.
Good night. Enjoy the footy. Get involved throughout the weekend on social media with League of Inches.
Keep your mother's name, my mother's name, out of your mouth.